what matters. The things that manifest in your life right here, right now, are a direct result of what was going on in the spiritual realm that you have brought into this natural realm. So I welcome you this morning. I welcome those who desire a miracle. Personally, I've experienced a life of miracles, and I've witnessed miracles in the lives of others. I've had the fortune of laying hands on others and seeing them recover. I've personally seen limbs grow out at the laying on of hands. I personally have experienced healing in my own physical body. I've experienced the expression of walking in divine wholeness and health for 40 years without any type of experiences. So I know that miracles are possible. So here's the message this morning. A new thought, how to get a miracle. Matthew tells us in chapter 18, verse 13, it is done unto you as you believe. Now that's key. When you get the opportunity, read that story in Matthew chapter 8. Here we have the centurion who comes to Jesus asking for a miracle. And he said, go, it is done unto you as you believe. See, it's done unto you. It's nothing you do. It's done unto you according to your beliefs. So this month, we're going to talk about miracles, manifestations, and mindfulness. Mindfulness is key to that. We need to learn to manage our minds, because the mismanagement of our minds keep us from obtaining the miracles. Because of mismanagement, we miss miracles. So I'm going to explore this morning. As a divine practitioner, I fellowship with divine science, religious science, also known as Centers for Spiritual Living. I fellowship with unity, and also have spent a large time inside of what we call the Word of Faith churches. So I want to look at miracles from the philosophy this morning of divine science. If you are tuning in to this telecast, you're tuning in to the Center for Divine Love, which is a divine science church. Now, divine science is one of the first three inside of New Thought, which is a new thought that came in the early 1900s. We find three manifestations of New Thought. Divine science, which this church is part of. You find religious science, that's not Scientology. Religious science, which was led by Ernest Holmes and has evolved into Centers for the Spiritual Living. And then there's a third camp, which is known as the Unity Camp. Charles Fillmore, which is right here in Missouri. So I'm going to present to you this morning a lesson in truth. When we talk about divine science, we have lessons in truth. And so this morning, I want to explore that. If you had the opportunity to see the image, a picture's worth 1,000 words. You saw the image on the advertisement was that of a lotus flower. The lotus flower has a significant meaning. It means creation. It means rebirth. It was the symbol of the sun, because at nightfall it closes, goes beneath the water, is submerged in the murk, the mire of this dark substance called water. And in the dawn of the day, it will emerge, it will climb out above the waters and reopen. Such a metaphor of our lives. Someone here today said they wanted a miracle. Another word for a miracle is a problem that you just can't seem to resolve. A problem that you, in your own doing, can't undo. So we're looking at problems. The miracle is the answer to a problem. So when we look at the spiritual revolution of the late 1800s, 1888, we see the event of the divine science. Divine science was led by three significant women early on. I'm not going to go into the details, but I want to share that with you. You can go to the Divine Science Federal International website. Now, I found something very interesting on the website. I like to call a spade a spade. I like to hold people accountable. So when we talk about new thought, it's a new idea in the heads of old people. And what I mean by that, you can espouse a high ideal, but have you done what is necessary that you can walk that thing out? When I look at Christianity as a whole, we have great ideals. We talked about last month the ideal of love. But how many Christians actually manifest true love? How many Christians actually walk inside of 1 Corinthians chapter 13, the love chapter? How many Christians, matter of fact, the Christians lead the procession to the divorce court. When we look at the very essence of 1 Corinthians 13, it talks about love, but if you was operating inside of that type of love, the numbers of divorce would not be as high as they are today. What am I saying? If you don't practice it, don't preach it. If you don't practice it, don't teach it. We should be known not by what we say, but what we do. So as a spiritual scientist, I live my life in a way that I am an observed classroom. So that means I don't do what the world does. If my mindset is one that I believe in healing, I don't find it in the medicine cabinet. I don't find it in the doctor's prescription. I find healing in the reality of my truth. So this morning we're looking at healing. We're looking at miracles from the philosophy of divine science. The teaching of divine science is just as true today as it over 100 years ago when the founders had their realization of the omnipresence of God and healing. All three of the women who presented divine science came by way of a problem. They got sick and tired of being sick. And as a result, they said, what the doctors have been giving me is not working. So they said, no more. See, psychosis is to continue to do what you've been doing, thinking what you've been doing is going to give you a different outcome. At the very least, you should shift what you've been doing. And when you shift what you've been doing and you still don't get the outcome, ultimately you come to the place where you need to shift all of that into the garbage. You need to scratch it. You need to try something else. So they began to try something different. They began to look at another way of getting their problem solved. Dr. Erwin Gregg, who is a divine science professional, he says divine science teaches complete faith and intelligence of the universe. Divine science differs from some other groups who are doing very fine work because they do not go into visualizing or outlining what is our highest and greatest good. Now, there are some groups that say you need to visualize it. You need to see it before you can receive it. There are some groups that say you got to name it before you can claim it. And that's all and well if it's working. But if it's not working, you need to adjust it. Divine science believes that God knows best for us. How many believe that source knows, God knows, divine intelligence knows, Allah knows, Yahweh knows, Jesus knows? How many of you believe that something greater than yourself knows better than yourself? I agree with you. I do too. So they believe that source knows what's best for us. Divine science belief is that the omnipresence and our expression of it is found in our statement of being. You hear us say it all the time. We say, God is all, both invisible and visible. So how do you see an invisible being? Because the word says, God is a spirit. Those who worship it must worship it in spirit and truth. You know how you see a spirit being? You look at yourself in the mirror. Our bodies are just containers that you may see an aspect of God. Now, there's some people that look really good that show a good aspect of God. And there's some people that look really bad that show the bad aspect of God. But the same God that's in you is the same God that's in me. So we say God is all, both invisible and visible. One presence, one mind, one power is all. This one that is all is perfect life, perfect love, perfect substance. So we say, if there's all this perfection, then why are we experiencing imperfection? Why do I have a pimple on my skin? Why do I have a sore throat today? Why do I have a diagnosis? Why am I walking inside of a prognosis? Because we have not come into the realization of the oneness of being. We see God as a God out there, or a God down there, or a God somewhere beside a God in here. We are the individualized expression of God, and everyone with this perfect life, perfect love, and perfect substance. This is what we call our statement of being inside of divine science. So why am I telling you this morning? Because you have to understand that it is done unto you as you believe. You may be inside of a new faith system this morning, but you are still walking inside of the old belief system. You may have transitioned from being a foot-washing Baptist to now you are either a word of faith, or maybe you have ascended even into one of the new thought types of ministry. But you could be there physically. You ever heard the song? Your mind is, no, your body's here with me, but your mind on the other side of town. And it goes on, you messing me around. Here's the situation. Your body can be in a new church, in a new situation, in a new relationship. But your mind is still in that old place. Your mind is where the game is won. You got to make sure you bring your body where your mind is, and your mind is always where your body is. And if your body is in a situation that doesn't represent what your mind or the higher thinking thoughts that you hold, then you got to bring your body into subjection. Oh, don't the words say that? Bring your body into subjection to the things of God, the truths of God. And here's the truth of God. God is omnipresence. Omnipresence is truth. That means God includes you right here, right now. It means that love is caring for you right now. That means God's wisdom is guiding you right now, even in this problem. Got a problem you just can't seem to solve? You seek the wisdom. You don't move in intellect, but you move in the intuitive voice, the nudging of God inside of you. See, I can trust this power, and I don't fear. I am thankful for this truth. So in the lessons of truth, there's the lesson 3 that talks about the religion of divine science. I'm not going to go into that, but the essence of that lesson is love is the supreme gift. It is the kingdom of God within us. So if we can't love ourselves, how can we love someone who we can't see, known as God? If we cannot love our neighbors who we can see, how can we say we could possibly love a God we can't see? And if you come into the realization that when you look at your neighbor, you're looking at an aspect of God, and if you can't love your neighbor, how can you possibly love God? Now, some of our neighbors do some very ugly things. And the way I resolve that is I say, oh, they just have a low vibrational manifestation of who God is. So I stay away from them. But there's what I wanted to get you to this morning as we prepare to wrap up. The short lesson in truth that is lesson 8. Lesson 8 says, how shall we solve our problem? Would you agree that everybody that said you would like a miracle, that miracle would solve that problem? Would that miracle solve that problem? Okay, good. So I'm not, because if the miracle you're expecting don't solve your problem, then you're looking for the wrong. No. Your problem's not that bad. Because when your problem is really bad, when you get sick and tired of being sick and tired, then the miracle is be gone. So in the lesson number 8, in the lesson of truth inside of divine science, it says, how shall we solve our problems? And that's the miracle. The purpose of this teaching this morning is to show you that problems are not your enemies, but your friend. Whatever you want to miraculously disappear in your life, right now may not be the time for it. Because perhaps you haven't got the lesson. You ever look at the word blessing? Inside of blessing is a root word called lesson. Think about it. Blessing. I know I'm playing with the word, but you remove the B, you got lesson. And so we have to understand every lesson that you're learning, when you get through it, grow through it, it becomes a blessing. So this teaching this morning is that we must understand that our problems are not our enemies, but our friends, that they are our opportunities to demonstrate. See, we have to learn to demonstrate. The problem with Christianity, the problem with most religions, there's no demonstration. When there's demonstration, you get some traction. The reason why Christianity grew in the manner that it grew is because there was demonstration. The reason why they followed the teachings of Jesus and they followed Jesus, because there was demonstration. I'm in St. Louis, Missouri, and I was told this is the show me state. But the church ain't showing me nothing. As soon as the pandemic hit, the church responded the same way that the world responded. Think about it. What makes you different? The church should have responded. After all, every first Sunday we take communion. And why do we take the blood? Because it says it should heal our sin-sick bodies, right? So why do we need the vaccine over the blood? I'm just going to tell the truth and shame the devil. The word says, be it according unto you as you believe. So if you don't believe in the power of the word, I'm okay with that. But don't make someone who stands in their faith, on their faith, and can show you by proof that the faith works. Guess what? This stuff works if you work it. That's called demonstration. We are here to grow. We are here to grow by solving our problems. Not solving somebody else's problem, but solve your problem. To solve a problem means to get the right answer. We are not to be resigned to hard conditions. No matter what is showing up in your life right now as a contrast. Maybe you are sick today. Maybe you are broke, busted, and on the corner of disgusted today. That does not mean you have to reside there. We got to understand that. So to solve our problems means to get the right answer. We are to solve our own problems. They are to be solved, how? With power. Now, I think it's Einstein that says that if you get a problem, or if a problem manifests in your life on level 3, how many people got level 3 problems right now? Level 5 problems? Somebody off the Richter scale right now. So, if your problem came into existence at level 3, you can't solve a level 3 problem with a level 3 answer. You need a greater level solution. And so when we look at our problems, it's something greater than the situation has to change them. How should we do this? First of all, we must take the right attitude. Change your attitude, you change your altitude. Think about it. Low vibrational thinking, get low vibrational things. A low vibration can never coexist in the same space where there's high vibration. But enough low vibration, given attention, can change a high vibration to a low vibration. You ever had some people that just change your frequency? You ever known somebody that can walk in the room and be like they're like a dimmer switch? So what you got to do is, when someone you know changes your frequency, you need not be around them frequently. Y'all get that? If you stay around them, they're going to keep getting you down. So in order to bring ourselves to this altitude, or we have to change this attitude. The goal of all growth is the realization of God as the only presence and power. That's why I'm here in the Divine Science Church today. I'm here because they espouse a spiritual truth that if we stand inside of it and if we demonstrate it, we will see not only our lives change, but those who are lookers into our lives change also. Let one miracle happen that the world can see, Mr. D, you're going to have a problem up in here. Because now the room won't be able to hold all the people. The only reason the pews are empty in the churches across America today is because there's no demonstration. If we're defaulting to the ways of the world, so why does the world need to stop by the way of the church? What's different? If we're thinking like the world, why does the world need to come in here? All of our problems, I'm going to wrap up with this, all of our problems according to our own development. You know, in the old church, they used to say, God don't put on you more than you can handle. Anybody heard that before? Well, I want to say something else. God don't put nothing on you. What's on you is what you've attracted. What's on you is what you've accepted. So when we talk about divine science, it's not just another church with stained glasses. There's some beliefs, there's some tenets, there's some lessons and truths that you must become familiar with. One of the things I want you to know this is life is not a struggle. It's only a lack of consciousness that makes the struggle in living. Once you are aware of the power within you, then no longer are you held hostage to what's outside of you, what's around you. Now, sometimes the outside of you is your inner me, which is your enemy. That's your physical being. But when you can get to the most holy of holies inside of you and understand that the same power that raised Christ from the dead dwells in you, and the word says if it dwells in you, it shall quicken your container. When I had an encounter, say he had an encounter. When I had an encounter with COVID on December 7th, 2020, for 14 days I slept. But I held this truth to be true. Greater is it that is in me than the it that's in the world. Greater is the power that's in me that's greater than the power that's in my body. I realized that this container could not kill that which was on the inside, but that which was on the inside had the propensity, the ability to annihilate. I didn't go to no ER. I didn't take no medicine. I stood on what I believe. And the word says, be it unto you as you believe. So I challenge you this morning. I challenge you to consider, if you're listening, you might as well consider the Center for Divine Love. Consider the precepts inside of divine science. When it comes to solving your problems, there's 3 principles you need to understand. The principle of unity, that all are expressions of one whole, all are included in one. The principle of goodness, we partake of God's nature in us. To demonstrate this in a powerful living, we must know that there's a God not only on the outside, but there's a God on the inside. And thirdly, abundance, mankind, which is begotten of God, is included in the life of the universe, the life that abounds to richness. So you want a miracle. That means you got a problem. There's a problem that you can solve. We heard is that there's not a problem that God can't solve. But it's not the God out there, but it's the God in there. It's the God in there. It's the God in you. Let us bow our heads. This message this morning that has been sent over the airways is about a message of non-resistance. That we will take this week as an opportunity to not resist the process. I send love and light to those who are under the sound of my voice, those who are experiencing contrast that you call problems, that you won't look to the outcome of being done with that thing, but you will start with the cause and not just seek the effect. That you will take some time and you will come to the realization of what is at the root. Because if you get at the root, you change the fruit. And so it is. Amen. Thank you for your time this morning. As we prepare to move deeper into our message or into this morning's service, the entire service is a message. I want you to process this meditation today. The meditation is simply this: the process of non-resistance. Just as a seed does not resist the friction of the wind on its surface, nor does the grass resist rains, storms, and snowfalls, you allow the circumstances and experiences of life to wash over you. In this way, you free yourself from the state of internal struggle and weakness that the opposition and the resistance of life causes. You practice acceptance and live life with no strings attached. Just as Jesus said, do not resist the evildoer. That's yourself. The things you do that are evil. But let circumstances flow. Non-resistance is a process that occurs in our consciousness as we recognize, accept, and affirm in God there is nothing to fear. The only presence and the only power that exists in the universe is absolute good and is always with us. Holding this awareness will make everything work together for the good of those who love the law and are called according to its purpose. And so it is. Amen.
Alone in a room, it's just me and you. I feel so lost, 'cause I don't know what to do. Now what if I choose the wrong thing to do? I'm so afraid of disappointing you. So I need to talk to you, ask you for your guidance, especially today when my life is so cloudy. Guide me until I'm sure I open up my heart. Oh yes. My hopes and dreams my strength's gonna last. So I'm crying out to you, Lord. I know that you're the only one who is able to pull me through. Now I know I need to talk to you and ask you for your guidance, especially today when my world seems just a little bit cloudy. Lord, please guide me through. That's why I open up my heart. So show me how to do things your way. Don't let me make the same mistakes over and over again. Your will be done, and I'll be the one to make sure that it's carried out. And in me, I don't want any doubt. That's why I wanna talk to you and ask you for your guidance, especially today when my world seems just a little bit cloudy. Lord, please guide me through. That's why I open up my heart.
Man. Woo. You should not have to watch us more than once or twice to understand that there's something special going on here. Yes, indeed. It's a different theology. It's an empowering theology. It's a theology that directly matches what Jesus said. And it's okay to support it. It is. Whether we want to or not, call it taxes, call it fees, call it whatever. We support things financially so that they can happen, ideally so that they can grow and prosper and reach more and more and more people. And we have that need as well. We're just not going to try to browbeat anybody into wanting to send funds. But we would thank you if you do. And we would appreciate it, which we do. So, you can send to 3617 Wyoming Street, 3617, just like the state, Wyoming Street, 63116. Or you can do the more modern method, which is go to our website, centerfordivinelove.org. Scroll down to the bottom, and there will be a giving page there where you can even set up to give a monthly or weekly donation until you change your mind. But if you're finding this theology empowering, and if you want others to be exposed to it, then give. Thank you.
God is my source. God is my power. God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. God gives me everything I need. God is my source. God is my power. God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. God gives me everything I need.
Divine news for this Sunday. There was a big deal in the news where Pfizer, a major pharmaceutical company, dropped the cost of one of its insulin products from $85 for a single shot down to $35. The amount that Biden was able to set for those on Medicare. And it costs $10 to make. Let me say that again. It costs $10 to make. And if you believe the national news reports, and they do fact checking, there's 1 million Americans? Did I get that number right, or is it more than that? There's an enormous number of people who have diabetes, and an enormous amount of them that need insulin to live. And this, which we are often told is the greatest nation on earth, is the only developed, financially fit nation that charges people for medicine that they need to live. We really need to bring more heaven to earth. Okay, let's go at another one. This attack on critical race theory, at least that's what they want to call it, which is affecting school districts, I mean like K through 12 school districts from coast to coast, where teachers are being threatened by law with jail time and huge fines if they should say or do anything that should contribute to any child feeling bad about what they folk might have done in history. We should all be hyperventilating on this one, folk. Because basically what we're saying in this land of the free is suppress history to the point where slavery, Jim Crow, racism, white privilege, sexism, etc. don't exist. And they're serious about this. There's like 15 states that have already passed laws to this effect. Since Trump established the concept of alternative reality, we are totally spinning out of control as a nation. And how come every time anything happens, somebody can say, oh, Biden's doing a bad job. They do that. When just the opposite is true. We are so blessed to have a decent, caring human being trying his best to hold off these other folk who more and more, I think, are beginning to become described by the right word, which is fascism. We got to watch out. And I think it's up to Christian folk to draw the line in the sand and say, no, lying don't work for us. Threatening educators to not teach an intellectually honest history don't work for us. And if we don't stand up and do that, when God gave us the ability to bring heaven on earth or not, then don't call yourself a good Christian, in my opinion. Like Asar said today, God wants some action from us. And we have the ability to solve any problem that exists. And that's your divine news for today. Now, I've been asked to close out this service. I think it was an absolutely wonderful service. I think the message was tremendous. I hope you paid deep attention to it. No, you can always watch it again. It was descriptive, quite descriptive of divine science and our belief system, which is a belief system of personal empowerment because you're a little piece of God. So don't you dare wake up any more mornings thinking, oh, I was born in evil, and evil is my nature, and I have to fight my whole life so that the loving God who created me doesn't send me to hell for all eternity. We have the audacity to speak the alternative to that. Join with us, if you will, and thank for you for being with us this Sunday. We send out our prayers to our leader, Reverend Dr. Neonat Tumpe, who's a little under the weather, but standing on faith. Amen, and so it is.
There be peace on the peace that was meant to be.